Boker Tov. Good morning from Sinai Temple here in Los Angeles on this beautiful Thursday, November 13th, 2025. This week, we are reading Parashat Chayei Sarah from the book of Bereshit, from Genesis, and it's a portion whose name is somewhat ironic. So Chayei Sarah, of course, means the life of Sarah. And the Parasha does not begin with Sarah's life, but with her death. The opening words of the Parasha say, Vayiyu Chayei Sarah me'ah shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim shnei Chayei Sarah. Vatamot Sarah v'kiryat arba. Sarah's lifespan, the span of Sarah's life, came to 127 years. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba. These were the years of the life of Sarah. So the rabbis ask, why use such a convoluted phrase, and why not simply say that she lived 127 years? Rashi famously comments that the repetition and structure teach us that each stage of her life was equally good, that her righteousness was consistent throughout her youth, her maturity, and her old age. She maintained a spiritual clarity and purity no matter the circumstances. This morning, we just concluded our morning minyan, and we read from the Torah as we always do on Monday mornings and Thursday mornings. And we read the beginning right here of chapter 23, where Abraham negotiates with the Hittites to bury Sarah. And he insists on paying the full price for a burial plot rather than accepting it as a gift. So the question is, of course, why does Abraham insist on paying? The answer speaks to the dignity of ownership and the permanence of covenant. In the context of mourning, we learn something enduring. We honor our loved ones not only with grief and memory, but with action and integrity. The land purchased for Sarah becomes the first foothold of Jewish presence in the land of Israel. It is a gesture of respect, love, and a forward-looking faith in God's promises. Parashat Chayei Sarah is a bridge between generations. We begin with Sarah's death and burial, and we end with the introduction of Rivka, Rebecca. And she will carry the matriarchal torch forward. In between, Abraham takes great pains to ensure two things. One, that Sarah will be buried with dignity, and two, that his son Isaac marries someone who will uphold their family's values. Both acts are expressions of covenant. One is honoring the past, and the other is ensuring the future. So let's begin with the burial itself. Abraham comes to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Chapter 23, verse 2. And the Hebrew word used for mourning, lispod, connotes a eulogy. For example, at a funeral, we say a chesped, which is a eulogy for those who have passed. And Rashi notes that the small kaf in the word livkota, if you look in the Torah and also in your Chumashim, you'll see at the very last word of verse 2, velivkota, and that Abraham mourned and bewailed her. The kaf is very, very small in that word. And Rashi notes that that shows restraint. Abraham mourns for Sarah, but he does not collapse. He holds his pain and channels it into action. This is a profound insight into Jewish mourning. We are not commanded to avoid sorrow, nor to drown in it. We act in the world. The first few moments upon the passing of a loved one is consumed with planning the funeral. And then we spend 2 to 3 days in deep sorrow, crying, and then the first 7 days of Shiva, and then reciting Kaddish for 30 days or for a parent for the first 11 months, we honor memory through structure and responsibility. The negotiation for the cave of Machpelah, the burial site for Sarah, and eventually all of our forefathers, except for Rachel. The cave of Machpelah is one of the longest narratives in Genesis. Abraham insists, "Let me pay for the price of the field. Accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there." Why this emphasis on paying? Nachmanides, the Ramban, says that Abraham did not want there to be any future contestation of ownership. He wasn't just buying a grave. He was asserting a permanent bond with the land of Israel. The Netziv adds a spiritual dimension. Property acquired for a mitzvah, such as burial, should be done with full commitment, not through convenience. Today, we might translate that into how we support our synagogue, Jewish education, and even end-of-life rituals. When we invest our resources in sacred tasks, we give those moments permanence. Rav Soloveitchik reflects on this episode by contrasting the Hittites' flattering language with Abraham's integrity. The Hittites call Abraham a prince of God among us, but their words are performative. Abraham replies with humility and resolve, not letting his grief cloud his responsibility. He doesn't exploit his social status. His conduct sets a precedent for Jewish ethics, that transactions, even sacred ones, must be done with justice, clarity, and mutual respect. Later on in the Parasha, we meet Rivka, Rebecca, whose defining quality is chesed, kindness. Eliezer, Abraham's servant, devises a test. The woman who offers water to him and his camels will be the right one for Isaac. So as we see, Rivka not only offers him water, but goes far beyond what is asked. In verse 20 of chapter 24, it says, "She ran again to the well to draw water, and she drew for all of his camels." That level of generosity is not only physical, but spiritual. The Midrash explains that Eliezer was looking for more than beauty or lineage. He was looking for someone who would embody Abraham and Sarah's values. Rivka became the second matriarch not because of her birthright, but because of her chesed, her kindness, her initiative, and her character. The Torah describes Eliezer's repeated retelling of the events, first as they happen, then to Rivka's family. So why the repetition? The commentators see this as a way to elevate the mundane. Even the repetition of details becomes Torah when they are part of a story that perpetuates holiness. As the Talmud says, the ordinary conversations of the servants of the patriarchs is more precious than the Torah of their descendants. Breshit Rabbah. Parashat Chayei Sarah teaches that covenant is not theoretical. It's enacted through burial, marriage, mourning, negotiation, and hospitality. Abraham does not simply grieve. He purchases land. Eliezer does not merely wait for a sign. He engages the world. Rivka does not passively accept her role. She runs towards it. This is a Torah of action. As modern readers, we can ask, what are the covenants that we uphold? How do we embody values of chesed, integrity, and legacy? In our own lives, do we treat mourning as a call to action, or just as a moment of sadness? Do we invest, literally and metaphorically, in the future of our tradition, or do we accept the status quo? Are our transactions in business, relationships, community conducted with Abraham's transparency and honor? In the Talmud, Bava Batra 58a, it says that the field of Machpelah was the entrance to Gan Eden. So what does that mean? Perhaps that holiness can be found in the way we handle even the hardest moments, in grief, in letting go, in moving forward. This Parasha has also been used to reflect on Jewish leadership. Sarah dies, but her values do not. Abraham ensures that his legacy continues through Isaac, but he does not take for granted that Isaac will just find the right path. He acts. He sends his servant. He creates structure. Similarly, in our Sinai temple life today, we don't assume that values transmit automatically. We create structures, learning, ritual, music, community that reinforce kindness, commitment, and Jewish continuity. Rebecca's story is particularly relevant today as we explore what it means to live a life of spiritual initiative. She doesn't wait to be asked. She acts decisively. That is a model that we must elevate in our communities. People who run to meet the needs of others. Modern commentator Aviva Zornberg points out that while Rivka begins with great agency, her voice is later sidelined in the narrative. We must ask ourselves, how do we ensure that women's voices continue to shape Jewish continuity, not just as symbols of kindness, but as leaders of vision? Chaye Sarah is filled with entrances and exits, from life to death, from Canaanite territory to ancestral claim, from servant to bride, from matriarch to matriarch. It invites us to think about our own transitions, how we leave, how we arrive, how we honor what came before, and prepare for what comes next. The final verses of the Parasha are worth noting. After Rivka meets Isaac, the Torah tells us, in verse 67 of chapter 24, and Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother, and he took Rivka, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother. The order is unusual. First comes marriage, then love, then comfort. Sorry about that, lost my place. There it is. First comes marriage, then love, then comfort. The rabbis teach that the tent of Sarah is reanimated by Rivka's presence. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, returns. The candles stay lit from Shabbat to Shabbat. The blessing in the dough returns. A new generation carries the spirit forward. As we reflect on this parasha, let's remember the small acts that carry deep meaning. The way we show up for a Shiva minyan, the way we give tzedakah for a sacred cause, the way we speak with integrity in difficult negotiations, the way we raise children and grandchildren to live lives of kindness. Every burial is sacred. Every match made in holiness is a continuation of Abraham and Sarah's journey. Every act of generosity, every word spoken with care is a reenactment of these stories. And this morning, as we read the opening verses of the Parasha, we were reminded that holiness often begins with how we bury our dead. That even in grief, we can plant something eternal. In closing, may we live lives that reflect the courage of Abraham, the kindness of Rivka, and the dignity of Sarah. And may we continue to build our covenant not just with God, but with each other, through action, through love, and through the values we